Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and I have got game 1 of a best of 3 from the Zotac Cup, from Go for SC2 in front of me, ready to cast. It's playing away. Let me introduce these two players. In the bottom position, we do have the green Zerg. It is 1. His opponent in the top position is the yellow Zerg. It is LoWeLy. That means that this is a ZvZ, and it is going to be super intensive. We're probably going to see Ling Bling Wars. We're probably going to see Roach on Roach action. We're probably going to see Roach Infester. And that all means that it is tense, it is exciting. They're in the long spawn positions, or cross spawn positions, which means that it's a long rush distance. This map is pretty damn big, so that just means that it's catered more towards a macro game. Hopefully, these two players will go for a 15 hatch apiece. It most likely will be, being game 1 of a best of 3. They both will want to try and push it out into a more economical game. Won't want to risk going for a really aggressive opening that is slightly all-inish. They want to instead just make sure that they're in a solid position, trying to pick out pieces where each other perhaps aren't as strong, so they can execute and exploit those weaknesses in the following games of this series. Now, for those of you wondering what is ZvZ, what is kind of the stages, I haven't mentioned it recently because I haven't actually cast a ZvZ for a while. Really, I think ZvZ can be split into some very specific points. You get the point where whoever has the most Zerglings will win. It's that simple. Then, generally speaking, you'll get Banelings out, and then it'll just be a case of whoever has the better Ling Bling control will generally win. And finally, Roaches. They're weak against Zerglings in small numbers, but once you get up to a critical mass of Roaches, so they all ball together and their surface area is lower, then you're able to really start engaging well. Now, following on from that, you can go Roach Hydra, Roach Infester, different compositions. Obviously, towards the end, it'll be Roach Hydra Infester, because those Hydralists with the Roach Shield can just deal a lot of damage very quickly. In terms of what these two are doing so far, though, we see that it was actually a pull first from both players, then into the hatchery. Now for 1, he's getting up his gas a little bit sooner than that of LoWeLy. That means a quicker speed, a potentially quicker Baneling nest, and quicker roaches, etc. And it all just has a knock-on effect. But for LoWeLy, he's going to have just a few more drones out slightly quicker. We can see he is slightly behind at the moment, but that will change fairly quickly just due to getting this later. He'll have a bit more in terms of minerals. We can see that already starting to get reflected here. That means that he can get that queen slightly sooner. He can basically start pumping out more stuff, more drones, and it's not going to make a big difference, but it will make a little one, or it should do at least. Now, looking around, we do see that the Overlord for 1 has now come over, sees, yep, hatchery there, I'm relatively safe. Same for LoWeLy, they've both seen each other's hatcheries, and that is really quite a comfortable spot, as any Zerg player will know. Once you see your opponent's gone for that hatchery, you know, yeah, he's not going for any kind of one-base play. He's not trying to kill me yet. Of course, scouting this gas is really critical as well, because until you see where the drones are coming out of this natural, it's always going to be in the back of your mind, what if that expansion was just for the extra production? What if I see speed coming down here, which LoWeLy's about to spawn? Does that mean that, hey, this could actually just be faked, and we're going to see a big swell of speedlings come and try and kill me? That is always going to be the thing you're worrying about. LoWeLy, he's getting up his Roach Warren super fast. He's starting speed a lot later, about 45 seconds later than 1. And he's not even going for the Baneling nest. Straight up to Roaches. It's a risky move that does pay off in the mid-game as long as there isn't a Speedling rush. If there's a Speedling rush, your Roaches will not be able to deal with it until they're in a sizable force. And as such, you will just lose the game. So, hopefully for LoWeLy's sake, these two Zerglings coming across will be the only threat he has to deal with for the short term. And then he should be A-OK. Looking up here, we do see that the Speedlings, or the Zerglings rather, are on their way up. Speed is about to finish for them shortly. The Queen's trying to deal with them, but obviously one wants to keep them alive for as long as he can. The Roach getting spotted is pretty big as well, because that's when you know what your opponent is really long-term gaming. And we can see here that obviously with the +1 carapace coming down for 1 from this early evolution chamber, he is gearing gearing towards getting the upgrade advantage, and as such, he's getting up the second gas and now his own roach warren. So delaying the roaches isn't a big problem because any early roach aggression you can hold off with speedlings alone. It's only when you start getting into more sizable number of roaches that you do have to worry. And of course, when that gets down, one is very likely to have the +1 carapace already complete and have his own roaches on the way. Now for LoWeLy, he's busy getting out all 4 gas. He's also got his lair on the way, and that means that on the one hand, it could be going for a Mutalisk style. It could also mean though that it's going to be just some quick infestors to go roach infester very fast indeed. These speedlings are obviously going to be a concern. There's only a handful of roaches out here, but they are in a nice little choke position, which means that they don't have much surface area for the speedlings to exploit. But there's no wall around the top. The queen could go down here. If you do focus a queen in this situation and get it, you're obviously going to be very happy. But those speedlings, unfortunately, not doing very much at all at the moment for one, so he's forced to pull back. But behind this, taking a third base, trying to get up his economy. Going to come in and check to see if LoWeLy's taking his own third, and that is really all the information that you're going to be requiring. Both players obviously have their lair on the way. LoWeLy's was a lot sooner, and of course all 4 gas have been spotted as well by one, and that just lets him know that my opponent is going really gas heavy. He's got a lot more than me. What's he going to be doing with that gas? And the answer is an infestation pit. These rocks getting taken out, they're really, really important. It allows the quicker resupply, the quicker defense, should any pushes come in. But really both of these players going for the long game right now. They're getting up upgrades, they're getting out their key tech. We've got infestors, we've got obviously a third base for both players now getting started as well. So as such, this is turning into a longer ZvZ where we're definitely going to be seeing epic battles between roaches and infestors, and probably some hydras as well. Upgrade wise, that's the big thing that we should always be talking about. Currently, for LoWeLy, he's getting +1 missile attack, but for one, he's already got +1 carapace, and he's getting +1 missile attack at roughly the same time as his opponent. LoWeLy will have roach speed slightly sooner. He's also going to have pathogen glands out quite a lot sooner as well, because as we can see, the infestation pit, as far as I'm spotting, is not yet down. And as such, those infestors could play an absolutely massive role. These overlords being used to generate creep, that's really, really quite a cool move by both of these players. It just means that you don't have to waste queen energy on getting the creep tumors down just to join up your bases. Of course, spreading creep in ZvZ is not that important to do. The Overseer is seeing that LoWeLy's getting down these gases, got down the expansion. Really important to know and keep tabs on how much gas is my opponent getting, because if you see a lot of gas, you obviously can narrow down that they're obviously going to be spending it on something, unless they've suddenly forgotten the key basics of the game. Now, of course, the infestors are about to come out. They're on their way. We've got 4 shown in production for LoWeLy here, but this is quite a sizable push. It's going to be a 1-1 push against 1-0 upgraded roaches. The infestors will help the battle for LoWeLy, but he's going to need some really good fungal growths here. He isn't going to spot it anytime soon because his overlord's only just now moving across the map. LoWeLy's somewhat blind about this coming. He is getting the Hydra Den behind this, so he's going for the really late game composition. But the concern always is going to be, what will this push do? The third base is looking somewhat vulnerable. The infestors are there. And of course, now we see LoWeLy spotting these roaches. He's going to have to get some very, very nice fungals and chain fungals. He does get one there, and that gets an awful lot of roaches there. The fungal growths are so critical in this engagement. The upgrade advantage for one and the better attack angle is helping him push through this. He's also got more roaches as a whole. But of course, as these fungal growths start chipping away, start dealing the damage, as the reinforcements start streaming through for LoWeLy, he is going to be able to force one back. And now one in full retreat, having lost an awful lot more than his opponent. 800 resources more. He is, of course, gonna be struggling. We now see that straight away these roaches are running back. We've got, in terms of the drone count, a very similar number, 68 to 66. But the tech advantage for LoWeLy is fairly huge. He's sitting there with Hydras in production, he's got his infestors out, and he's on the 1-0 upgrades compared to the 1-1 coming out for 1. He's also got his Hydras out sooner. We do see Hydras in production now, or the Hydra Den in production now for 1, as well as the pathogen glands nearly finished up. So 1 will be getting out his infestors now, but of course the count is going to be lower. He's going to have less tech on the field. In terms of army size after that previous engagement, LoWeLy is ahead by about 26, and as such, he's gonna be feeling fairly comfortable. He knows that worker-wise he must be at least with his opponent. he doesn't even know about this 4th base. That's really important, but again, his opponent comes in with the Overseer to get a scout out. So they both are expanding at very similar times, both upgrading. Of course, we do have the Hydra range upgrade out slightly sooner for LoWeLy. So all of... no, actually, LoWeLy hasn't started it yet. My goodness, that is actually quite important that we don't see that yet, because obviously with the Hydra range, you're able to deal with the roaches a lot better, you're able to engage with a lot more units at the same time. But LoWeLy apparently not willing to wait for that. Instead, he has started it, he's got Burrow coming down, but is just moving straight across the map. Has this been spotted? The answer is yes, by... No, it hasn't been spotted. I thought there was something there. There's only that single Overseer. I don't know if it's seen all of it move, but it has now been spotted by this. Of course, one trying to get in a very defensive position, getting a good arc on his units ready, spreading them out to engage LoWeLy. He's got to go in at the right angle. We do see one changeling there, getting a good scout out on just how much of an army that LoWeLy has. The Infestors now catching up. Of course, these fungal growths could be so important. There are 5 Infestors for LoWeLy compared to the 4 of 1, but the Hydras are going to make the big difference. 15 Hydras for LoWeLy compared to the 6 of 1. The greater roach number as well for the Yellow Zerg in this situation. The Infestors leading the charge, which is not something that you really want. The fungal growths are starting to hit, but a great fungal comes down from one on all of LoWeLy's Infestors. They get taken down very quickly. That could make a big difference to this engagement. Now we've got this roach on Hydra engagement, and of course the fungal growths hitting for the green Zerg player. They are doing a lot of damage. It is 1-1 upgrades compared to 2-2. That is a massive upgrade advantage for one right now, and as we can see, just this damage is going down everywhere. The Infestors are trying their best to fungal through. The superior Hydra numbers, though, for LoWeLy are doing quite well, but just that upgrade advantage, the fact the Infestors got taken down with the fungal growth, means the one has won that battle. And of course, this is going to make a substantial difference moving forward, because LoWeLy lost all of his Infestors. He's got none out right now. He lost a large chunk of his army and has actually lost thousands more resources than that of his opponent. In terms of the worker count, one is pulling ahead as well by 10 drones. Now we see LoWeLy just losing a couple of Overseers as well. These little slip-ups are going to start causing problems going into the later game, but this counter-attack is going to be massive. Can LoWeLy hold it? We see him trying to get in there, but of course the upgrade advantage still very solid. The 2 armor nowhere to be seen for LoWeLy. Infested Terrans getting knocked down. Fungal growth going for both players, but it seems for now the LoWeLy will be able to hold this push off. One is in full retreat just due to the better attack angle and the better fungal growths from the Yellow Zerg. But the retreat is going to be met by some reinforcements. The counter-attack may not be the best move for LoWeLy right now. He needs to be careful with how he engages. Obviously, having the 2-0 compared to 2-2 upgrades is very substantial throughout this game, and it has really been the story. The one has had the better upgrades, and of course their tech being equal, we can see from the units tab just at a quick glance that their army supply is actually very similar. One slightly ahead, but not by much at all. The drone's getting transferred now, so LoWeLy is still behind in terms of the drone count, but on an equal basis. That income is going to make a big difference going into the late game, and we even have the Hive coming down, and the Spire. This means we could be seeing Broodlords this game, and I love a ZvZ where you see Broodlords. It is ever so exciting, and of course it's then just a race to the finish. Meanwhile, for one, he is getting out the 3-3 missile and ground armor upgrades. That means that he is going to have a very substantial upgrade advantage. And of course, this Hive is still a good 50 seconds away from completion. That means over 2 minutes until the Greater Spire will be complete at the very minimum. And that means that there is a nice little opportunity window that one may choose to try and exploit. Is this Overlord going to get sniped off? We'll wait and see. The Hydras will kill it. Every little Overlord like that is going to be good times for you. But here we see one. He's moving forward. He's going to go for the surround. LoWeLy is moving forward straight into these roaches, but a massive fungal growth hits absolutely everything. And with this, with the units potentially streaming in from behind, we're going to see some problems. LoWeLy does have a few more Hydras just at a glance. We see the roaches at the front are getting taken down. 3-3 was not yet complete. More fungals are hitting for both players, and it looks like LoWeLy is just going to be able to hold on, but the resupply is the big problem. We can see LoWeLy is down to under 150 supply, but one has already resupplied nearly back up to max, and that is the problem. This counter-attack does not have the momentum it needs. There are not enough roaches with it for LoWeLy to safely push forward. Looking back though, looking at the drone count, still we see a 9 worker lead, which may not sound like much, but when you factor in the fact there is this additional base as well, that is going to be putting one in a nice spot going into the later game. All of LoWeLy's hopes lie on the Great Aspire, on the Broodlords, if they can come out in time. We also have the Nidus network coming down, which I just think instantly makes you a crowd favorite. I love seeing a Nidus play. It's coming down here. Where's it going to go down? Are there any overlords sitting around the map? Well, there's this one for LoWeLy here, so you could try and sneak a single Nidus somewhere around. Of course, though, one is not waiting for that. He's remaxed. I don't know if I don't believe he knows about this. No, he has no clue about the Great Aspire or the Hive, so doesn't know that he's on a clock in terms of being able to engage this. The 3-3 is only now 25 seconds away from completion, but he's not going to wait for it. He's just pushing forward. We see an awful lot of units here, 4-1, with a 200 supply against the 160 of LoWeLy, and he is just pushing straight through. He is pushing straight up and forward, even though it's 2-1 compared to 2-2. 3-3 upgrades are just 2 seconds away from completion, and with the greater army size, no matter how good these fungal quotes are, I think one is going to be able to take this now. He's pushing forward. He is doing so much damage. LoWeLy's forces are melting before our eyes. The Great Aspire is complete, but there are no corruptors down at the moment, and there is not enough money in the bank to support it. The infestors dying, the roaches are dying, and one is just remaxing on more roaches, more hydras behind them, streaming them across the map. With the 3-3 upgrades, their damage is just so huge, and now of course the Roachborn getting targeted down, and the GG comes from LoWeLy, and therefore game 1 goes to 1. So my goodness, that was exciting. That was a great ZvZ. And if you all enjoyed that, make sure you like the video, leave a cool comment and subscribe, and then flick over to game 2 of this best of 3. It's on my channel. I will see each and every one of you there any second. Bye for now.